99X. It's the Morning X. Barnes and Leslie. Did you know, Fram, we have a podcast?
We do. It's called the Morning X Podcast. Simple.
No, it's not, because there's other Morning X's. It's not that simple. Maybe that's the problem, because we rank, I think, 7,904 in the U.S., but we are number 3, I think, in Norway again.
Well, that's not bad. We're going places.
Small victories. The Morning X with Barnes and Leslie podcast. We've got all kind of stuff. The Indigo Girls were on for a full hour. We've got all the past Queen episodes, a lot of Sleaze daily. The Sleaze hits it at 10 o'clock. So just wherever you get your podcasts, I think you'll find a lot of ways to waste a lot of time with the Morning X Barnes and Leslie podcast.
You know, Barnes, one of the joys that I've had using my platform and my career has been helping women, female empowerment, because as you know, it's very hard, especially with the gender pay gap that's going on. But I saw this interview on Newsbreak with someone, and I wanted to bring her on the show.
Well, let me just state that I love women, too. So that you can include me.
I know you love women.
I'm a big fan. A huge fan.
And I love your wife because she has her own business. She's successful.
Female power.
She's an entrepreneur. Exactly.
Yes.
But I read this interview with this woman that created the finishing school, and we're going to get into it. Allison Taffel-Rabinowitz. And she is on a mission to help women network, negotiating skills, not leaving money on the table. So we have a lot of questions we want to ask her. But welcome to the show, Allison.
Hey, Allison.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here as someone who grew up in Atlanta. I grew up listening to your radio show and calling in for tickets and listening to it when I first started driving in my car. So this is literally a dream come true.
Are you kidding?
Okay, we had no idea when we asked you to be on the show.
Where do you listen from?
I listen online, but I used to listen in my car, so this is great.
No, but where do you live now?
Oh, Miami.
Oh, wow. Who knew?
We have an app.
I like that. So you sum it up for a dumb guy like me. So you negotiate when someone's about to get a job? Like you're like their agent?
So I totally believe that negotiation starts way before you get an offer. So people engage me just in the beginning to figure out how do they build their personal brand online, because that's more important than anything these days. LinkedIn is the yellow pages of the internet, and you need to care about that more than your resume. And so I help people with that beginning. How do you build, how do you activate, how do you build a sustainable network that you can tap into? But then also, how do you represent yourself as a top performer who can negotiate and get to the top of the range that is being offered? And that's through scripts and strategies that go from the beginning of the job hunt to getting that offer and signing the letter.
So you founded the Finishing School. Is this like a course? What is it?
So basically when I started the Finishing School, I started it 10 years as a side hustle. I was working at Inc. magazine, and I was realizing that all of the business books that were on the free book table were written by the same men. And my friends weren't talking about the same topics when we went to brunch, you know? And I was like, how are we all going to get ahead if no one teaches us this? When I started doing my research, I was like, you know what? I can help women through storytelling, which is what I learned in journalism school at University of Georgia. So really what I look at is helping people create marketing campaigns for themselves and pitching that to companies so that they look like the right fit and can command the most money. At this point, I've helped women negotiate over $1 million.
Wow.
And some of it really comes down to unlearning, which is where the finishing school kind of comes in. Like usually you think of the finishing school as like finishing off your manners, right? I'm telling people unlearn the manners. I'm telling people don't be the good girl who was quiet and got, you know, accolades for that. You need to brag about yourself.
These guys that are in charge who will sit down and take advantage of a 20, 30-something-year-old female.
Intimidation.
Because they can, and that just makes me sick as a dad of 2 daughters who are entering the workforce at that level. Like that, it's just embarrassing that there is still that, but it's there.
It's there, and you know, I became a mom 2 years ago. I have a 2-year-old daughter, and when I think about what I'm doing, I'm like, this is for her. How do I help women who are going after lofty goals like motherhood or entrepreneurship and help them negotiate the lifestyle, the flexibility, and the money and benefits, because it's all big picture, right? It's more than just the dollars.
So you can actually do it all. We're talking to Allison Taffel-Rabinowitz, the finishing school. Something you also bring up, which I think is a lost art, is networking. I feel like a lot of young people don't know how to network. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so one of the biggest things I teach, and I really started this a lot in the pandemic, was you don't actually have to be in person to network with the people you want. We are a distributed world, especially post-COVID, right? You don't necessarily have to work in New York to be in media or publishing. You could be all over the place. So with that, I go back to that front page of the internet. You got to have a good LinkedIn profile, tell people who you are, what you offer. But more than that, don't be scared to reach out to people. So when I tell people to do that, how do you do this in the digital age, right? I have people do digital coffees. You write someone, you mention something cool that you read about them, stroke their ego a little bit. It was so cool to read your article. I'd love to have a 20-minute digital coffee with you on Zoom. It would be great to ask you about your career and possibly get any insights you might have about mine.
But hold on, aren't you asking too much, though, with that? Like, you're coming in for a lot of asks. I'm just playing devil's advocate.
Yeah, so I would say it all has to do with who you ask. So say that you're trying to get a job at Meta, right? Don't reach out necessarily to just the person who would be your boss. Reach out to someone cross-functionally in the company. Because one thing that people don't realize is that a lot of companies, people get paid if they refer someone and that person stays. So it's actually in this karmic way good for people to take these meetings where they might possibly refer someone into a different department. So if you reach them on a human level, I read this great blog post, I listened to you on this podcast, I'm really interested in what you said, and I'm interested in finding a way to get into your company.
Yep.
Exactly. Flattery is a great way to say it, but I also say it's about leading with gratitude. You're gonna get more if you come from a place of being grateful for their time, and also something good to put in an email is something that maybe they didn't have a chance to read. So linking an article, maybe that was in Fast Company, with a little blurb that's like a cliff notes of what the article was about that they didn't, that shows I'm in the know. I would be someone smart on your team.
Yeah, we're getting into some good tips here, and there's more to come. We have to take a break. We'll be back with Allison Taffel-Rabinowitz from the Finishing School, and I know you have an offer you want to throw out for, and this is not an advertisement thing. This is just something she's going to do special for 99X listeners. We'll be back after a quick break. This is The Morning X, 99X.